they wolves? Are they coming for me?
My name is Sadhbh. I was not always like this, a roe deer destined to exist alone in the forest, living with the nightmare thought of being torn to pieces by packs of hunting hounds. This is my story. Back in the mists of time, in an era of myth and legend, in what you would call the Iron Age, I lived among the Druids and Celtic tribes of Ireland. I was held in the highest esteem as the eldest daughter of Bodaric and the granddaughter of Dagda, the mighty Celtic god of fertility and the earth. I was known as a pagan goddess of nature.
Sadhbh was a beautiful young woman, with many admirers. She lived in the kingdom of her father, Bodaric, in the Sheer Firmin in Tipperary. Her father was a great warrior and head chieftain of the Tuatha De Danann tribe.
Sadhbh caught the eye of Bodaric, a powerful sorcerer in the Tuatha De Danann. His talent for magic had earned him the reputation for cruelty and wickedness. He became known as the Celtic god of evil, and he wanted Sadhbh.
Sadhbh!
My Lord Doric?
Do not be nervous of me, Sadhbh, and do not believe the stories about me and my magic.
No, my lord.
Sadhbh, I have watched you for many months. You are the most beautiful woman in Sheer Firmin. You intoxicate me. Your every move, your every look fills my dreams with passion. I desire you, Sadhbh.
Please, my lord, I'm not worthy.
Do not belittle yourself, Sadhbh. You are every man's fantasy, and I will make you mine. I humbly ask for your hand in marriage.
Oh, please, my lord, I don't know what to say.
It's simple, Sadhbh. Say you will marry me and live your life with me.
You flatter me, but I do not love you.
You will learn to love me.
And I do not want you. Your weasel words cannot hide what you really are. No, I will not marry you.
You refuse me?
Yes, I refuse you, Fir Doric.
Very well. If I cannot have you, then no one else will. I will transform you into a doe, and you will wander in the wilderness until you change your mind. Agree to marry me, and I will return you to human form. Unless the wolves have got you first.
And with that, he tapped her with his sorcerer's wand, and, with a scream, the beautiful maiden was changed into a deer, and ran off with terrified eyes into the forest.
For 3 long years, Sadhbh languished in the wasteland of the forests and plains of Munster, living every moment in fear of being torn to pieces by the wolves and the packs of hunting hounds, some of whom were sent out by Fir Doric himself.
Gela!
My lord.
Find her. Find that bitch rogue here and bring her to me. She has evaded you for too long, and my patience is ended. Take the dogs once again, and do not return without her. In one piece or many.
Yes, my lord.
With a heavy heart, Gela once more led the hounds into the forest, and this time, after a long chase, cornered an exhausted Sadhbh.
Don't worry. I know who you are. You're Sadhbh. I know of your suffering. I know of the pain you have endured because of the wickedness of my master Fir Doric. But I will hold the hounds back. While you run, run as fast as you can to Ra'almu.
Ra'almu? What is that?
Ra'almu is known as the Fort of Almain. It is the home of the Fianna.
I've heard of them. They're great warriors.
They are, and none more so than their chieftain, Fionn MacCool.
Fionn MacCool.
You will be safe there, and what's more, the spell put upon you by Fir Doric will be broken once you've entered Ra'almu.
You mean I'll become human again?
Yes, you will once again become the beautiful maiden you were 3 years ago.
And with that, Sadhbh fled, bounding through the glens and forests to make her way to the home of Fionn MacCool.
But Fionn MacCool was himself out hunting that day. His pack of dogs were led by 2 legendary hounds named Bran and Skjollan.
They were not ordinary hounds. They were from the other world. Bran and Skjollan were the cousins of Fionn and followed him everywhere. They were born in the form of hounds because, before their birth, their mother, Fionn's aunt, Bjorna, was changed into a wolfhound by the Queen of Dalnariva due to jealousy.
Now in the forest near Almu, Bran and Sholon picked up the scent of a roe deer and pursued her relentlessly until they surrounded the terrified Sadhbh.
Now surely I shall die.
Fionn rode up, pleased at the capture of the white doe he saw before him.
Well done, Bran and Sholon. You have hunted well, my cousins. We shall feast royally tonight.
Wait, cousin!
For what, Sholon?
This deer is not what she seems. Are you?
No, my name is Sadhbh. I was transformed into a deer by the sorcerer Sadhbh for rejecting his advances. But how did you know?
I am Bran, the raven, and this is my sister Sjölan, the survivor. We were also created human, but became hounds when our mother was changed into the form of a dog before we were born.
Very well. Bring Sai back to Almu. We will look after you.
Fionn and his party escorted Sadhbh home to Almu. As soon as her cloven hooves touched the ground within the fort, she transformed into the beautiful woman she once was.
Fionn McCool was smitten.
I have never seen such beauty. Welcome to Almu. If you will allow it, make this your new home.
Thank you, my lord.
Remain here with me, and I swear I will renounce hunting forever. No animal in the forest need ever fear me. In return, say you will marry me.
Fionn had fallen hopelessly in love with the beautiful goddess from the other world. They were soon married, and the Fianna hardly saw their leader. So enchanted was he by his new beloved. It was not long before Sadhbh became pregnant.
But barely a year of their happiness had passed when Fionn McCool received some bad news.
My lord, I come with a message from the king. Marauders are attacking Kerry. You were commanded to lead the Fianna into Kerry to defend our land from the invaders.
Fionn did not hesitate.
But my love, what about our child?
You will be safe here in Ralmu. Don't worry. I shall return victorious in time for the birth of our child.
Be safe, my love. I shall watch for you every day.
With a last kiss to his wife, Fionn McCool set off for Kerry with his troops of the Fianna and, of course, his faithful hounds, Bran and Sjölan.
True to her word, Sadhbh watched for him every day. Barely a week had gone by when her face turned to delight and her heart fluttered with joy. Coming out of the forest, she saw first Bran and Sjölan bounding happily towards the fort, and then her beloved Fionn. Sadhbh rushed, exuberant, out of the safety of Almu to greet him.
The trap was set.
For it was not the beloved Fionn and his consort host, but the wicked Sadhbh, who had used his magical powers to transform himself and his men into likenesses of the dogs and of Fionn. As Sadhbh held out her arms to embrace her husband, the transformation vanished.
You! Where is my husband?
Still fighting the invaders, I imagine. But you will not escape my spell a second time. This time, running into Ra'almu will not save you.
And with that, he once again tapped Sadhbh with his wand. And once again, she was transformed into a roe deer. Terrified, she ran into the fort, but the safety of its walls did nothing.
She remained a deer.
With fair Duret's cruel laughter tormenting her ears, she fled into the forest as the helpless servant looked on.
Some time later, Fionn McCool returned in triumph from vanquishing the invaders from the shores of Kerry. But that triumph was short-lived.
Where is my wife? Where is Sadhbh?
My lord, she's gone.
Gone?
Taken by Sadhbh.
How?
He used his sorcerer magic to transform himself into a likeness of you, my lord. When the lady Sadhbh saw him, she rushed out of the safety of the fort, and he used his wand to turn her once more into a deer. The sun saved her Almu could not save her from the spell, and she ran off into the forest.
And you did nothing?
My lord, I'm not a sorcerer.
Oh, it is a spear through my heart. My wife and my child, both gone. My life has ended.
No, my lord. You can find her. Search for her. You and Bran and Sholon and all the warriors of the Fianna. Let that be your mission and your hope.
My hope?
For 7 interminable years, Fionn McCool searched tirelessly for Sadhbh in the forests and plains of Ireland, never giving up, fighting through the pain and the heartache, but to no avail. She was nowhere to be found.
His heartache turned to despair, and and then to hopelessness.
But then one day, warriors of the Fianna were out hunting in the mountains and came across a wild boy. He ran off, afraid of these hunters, but they caught him and brought him back to their leader, Fionn McCool. They faced each other, the little boy frightened but defiant, and Fionn curious and intrigued.
What is your name, young man?
I have no name.
And where do you live?
In the forest.
And your mother and father?
I have no mother or father. When I was very small, I was brought up by a deer. But then she disappeared and I...
Come closer, young man.
Fionn looked searchingly into the child's face.
How old are you?
I don't know. Maybe 6 or 7.
Your face is familiar. You have the features of your mother, little fawn. Your mother is Sadhbh, and she is my wife. I'm your father.
My father?
You say you have no name, little fawn. I shall call you that, Oisin.
Oisin.
And with that, another legend was born. But that is another story.
But as for Fionn McCool, he remained heartbroken as he continued his fruitless search for Sadhbh.
He never found her.
No one knows Sadhbh's fate. She remains lost somewhere in the forests of Ireland, lost in the mists of time, a tragic tale of the joy and the pain of love.
But what of Oisin?
Oisin grew up to be a great warrior, greater even than his father, Fionn McCool.
But more than that, he became famous as a singer, a lover of words, keeper of the old stories, and the greatest poet of Ireland.
Like his father, Fionn McCool, Oisin loved to hunt with the Fianna, especially with his friends.
Caelta, the swiftest of runners.
Oscar, skillful with his spear and sword.
And Gull MacMorna, the old warrior with the one eye.
On this day, after hunting in the woods on the Ring of Kerry, they came to rest down by the western shore of Ballinscallig's Bay. As Fionn and his son looked out over the reddening evening sky of the Atlantic Ocean, they saw, coming towards them across the waves, a little white speck in the far distance.
What is that, father?
I can't see from here, Oisin.
I can. And I don't believe what I'm seeing. It's a horse. A white horse. Galloping over the sea.
Is that somebody riding it?
Yes, it's a woman. A young woman. With blonde hair. She looks like a princess.
As Fionn, Oisin and the Fianna watched on in awe and disbelief, the horse galloped up onto the beach and rode right up to Fionn McCool. The rider wore a dress of palest blue, studded with stars. Everyone could see she was a great beauty. She spoke.
My name is Niamh Kinor.
Niamh of the golden hair. Where have you come from?
I come from Tirnanog.
Ah, the fabled land of eternal youth.
Yes, it lies west of the setting sun. My father is MacCanna MacLear. He is the king of Tirnanog.
So you're truly a princess.
And I have come to ask one thing.
What do you ask of us?
I ask for Oisin. Even on Tirnanog, we have heard so much about the beauty of his poetry and the sweetness of his singing with the harp. Oisin, I invite you to come. Come with me. Come on an adventure to Tirnanog, to the land of the ever-young. Come and be my husband.
The Fianna were stunned into silence, but fear swept through Fionn McCool. He knew that if this mysterious beauty who came out of the setting sun were to spirit away his precious son, he would never see him again.
Fionn looked at Niamh with hard eyes, and then at his son. But one look told him it was too late. The goddess had cast her spell. Oisin was hers.
Father, I must go with her to Tirnanog.
No! You must stay here, with the Fianna. This is where you belong.
No longer, father. Niamh has enchanted me. I'm drunk with love. I must leave you.
Oisin said his goodbyes to his friends, to Caelta, to Oscar, and to Gull MacMorna, and to his father, Fionn, and turned to Niamh. She stretched out her hand and drew him to the back of Ember, her white stallion. Together, they rode back across the waves until they became a tiny speck in the distance, and then were gone.
Fionn McCool's despair was complete. He had now lost not only his wife Sadhbh, but also his only son.
And so it was that Oisin the poet came to live on the island of Tir na Nog.
Niamh's horse Ember had travelled fast for several days and nights without stopping, over the stormy seas until they reached Tir na Nog. Oisin thought little of those he had left behind, as he was welcomed by Niamh's father, the king, and invited to a great feast in the royal palace.
Oisin immediately felt at home. Tir na Nog was everything he had imagined it to be. Filled with birdsong. All year round there was blossom on the trees and flowers of every kind and colour. The young men and women played music, sang and danced, and laughed.
Because on Tir na Nog, no one ever grew old.
Oisin's fame as a poet and singer grew ever stronger as he told incredible stories of his time with Athena.
And of course, he'd won the hand of the most beautiful woman in the land. Before long, Oisin and Niamh had wed, and Oisin had no regrets about his new life in this magical land.
All the more so, when within 3 years they had 3 children, 2 boys, Oscar and Finn, and a daughter, Lorna Mom, which means flower of women.
Oisin quickly lost track of time, but sometimes he thought of his friends in Fina and of his father, Fionn Cool.
Those thoughts grew, and Niamh sensed that something had changed.
What is it? Are you no longer happy here on Tir na Nog?
Of course I'm happy. I've had 3 happy years, and I long for many more. It's only that I ache to see my friends and my father.
Don't leave here, Oisin, for if you go, you will never return.
Of course I'll return. My heart is with you. But for now, I must go.
Oisin looked lovingly at his wife, but she could not meet his gaze. She looked away, with tears in her eyes, knowing his mind was made up.
And knowing something she lacked the courage to tell him, knowing that he would have to find out for himself.
Niamh brought out her magical horse Ember. Oisin kissed Niamh in her farewell, mounted Ember, and prepared to leave.
Wait! There is one thing you must know. When you reach the land of your people, much will have changed. You will not recognize it, and I do not think you will find your friends. But whatever you do not set foot on that land. If you do, there is no hope of you ever returning here to Tir na Nog. You must always stay on this beautiful horse, and then you can ride home again.
Oisin was puzzled, but promised to always stay on Ember. They rode across the glistening seas back to the land of his birth, to Ireland. In no time at all, he seemed to be back at Vanskellig's Bay, the land that he loved, and where he had first seen Niamh.
And yet, everything seemed changed.
When he rode to the places he knew, where he had spent many happy days with the Fianna, they were overgrown with weeds, with grass and moss.
There were people, but they all seemed tiny and weak, not at all like the great hunters and warriors that he knew.
He rode on until he came to the great fortress of Fionn himself. Nothing was there. Everything was overgrown, with nettles and thistles.
He stopped an old couple and asked them,
Do you know of Clota the Swift, of Oscar the Warrior, and Golmuk Morna of the One Eye, and Fionn the Cool, the great leader?
Oh yes, I remember hearing of such people from my grandfather.
That's right. When I was a boy, I heard tell of such names. Names from the old legends.
From 300 years ago, people say.
300 years? You must be mistaken. I lived with them not 3 years ago. I hunted with them on the Ring of Kerry.
The old couple stared blankly at him, shook their heads, and went on their way.
What Niamh lacked the courage to tell her husband was that, on Tir na Nog, the land where nobody grew old, 3 years was actually 300 years in Ireland.
As Oisin rode on, the reality slowly dawned on him. Niamh had been right. He would never see his friends again, or his father.
a terrible loneliness fell on him.
As dark thoughts swirled around his head, he came across 2 monks struggling to move a rock onto a wagon from the field they were ploughing.
Oisin knew he had the strength to easily move the rock, but he hadn't forgotten what Niamh had told him. He knew he must not touch Irish soil. He decided that, if he angled himself in the horse's saddle, he could still help them move the stone.
He leaned down, and together with the group pushed, and the stone began to slowly give way.
But then the leather strap on his saddle snapped in two, and Oisin fell to the ground, straight onto Irish soil.
All at once, Emmer fled, galloping towards the sea, knowing his task was no more.
The monks rushed to help Oisin, but recoiled in horror. In front of their eyes, this young warrior was aging, changing into a withered, frail old man. It was as if his body was aging 300 years in the space of seconds.
Instantly, Oisin had become the oldest man in Ireland.
The monks panicked. They knew they could do nothing for this old man, but decided to take him to their monastery and their leader, St. Patrick.
Ireland was no longer a pagan country. Within the last 300 years, Christianity had taken over the land.
Some say that Oisin accepted this new faith and allowed himself to be baptized by St. Patrick.
Others say he argued long and hard with Patrick, denying Christianity and finding fault with the new faith.
Either way, the old Oisin died soon afterwards, telling stories of the Fina and of Tir Manog.
Oisin had lost his wife Niamh, his father, Fionn McCrew, and his mother Sadhbh. He had only the memories, swirling like mist through his head.
But we here in Ireland have a more tangible memory. There is Cahir, a stone fort on the edge of our town. No one knows for certain who built it, or how old it is. Some say it was built by the giants, by the Ishi, the fairy folk.
It is dedicated to Sadhbh, to young Sadhbh,